there, and welcome back to another My Hero Academia Season 6 review. And today we'll be talking about the latest episode to drop, Episode 9, Katsuki Bakugo, Rising. Which, as the title might suggest, is an episode that heavily focuses on Bakugo as a character, as well as following up with the epic cliffhanger of Gran Torino being turned into a human donut, and Aizawa getting hit with a quirk deleter round by Shigaraki. Just pure epicness from start to finish this episode, and I really enjoyed it. And of course, before we go any further, I would like to say that I have read the manga, and so I'm aware of any future plot points or details. Although, to be fair, I have forgotten a lot of stuff. But for the purpose of these reviews, I try to approach them more from an anime-only perspective, so that anime-only fans can watch along and join in too. And so yeah, with all that being said, let's jump into the episode. So we start off the episode with a quick little recap of the closing moments of the previous episode, where Aizawa ended up getting shot with the deleter round. But here, we get the immediate follow-up. And I gotta say, it's pretty hardcore. Since Ryukyu called out that Shigaraki had a deleter in his hand, Aizawa already knew that he couldn't hesitate. And as he got hit with the bullet, he cuts off his leg to prevent him losing his quirk. And I gotta say, that's gotta be a very sharp knife. Right through flesh and bone like it was nothing. And on top of that, he still keeps his quirk active on Shigaraki. So he's pretty much just become the single most badass character in the entire show. Yeah, Deku breaks his bones from time to time, but this is a whole nother level. Jesus Christ. And so yeah, they leave you to stew on that whilst the intro plays. And then when we return, the intensity just ramps all the way back up. Shigaraki recognizes that once again, Aizawa is a premium badass, and so even after all of this, he still needs to take him down. So he shrugs everybody off and jumps right for him, and almost succeeds in killing him, only being stopped by Black Whip and the arrival of Shoto to smash him with a glacier. But he still manages to gouge out big chunks of Aizawa's face. Ugh. My god, leave this poor man alone. And then Deku swats him away as he tries to get up, and god, something tells me this battle is not going to be for the faint of heart. I just hope they keep Deku's floppy broken arms to a minimum. Ugh, they're so gross. We then catch up with the other members of the city raid team, characters like Uraraka, Ida, Sue, as they continue to help with the evacuation effort and worry about Bakugo, Midoriya and Todoroki. As per usual, they've run off into the thick of it and can't be contacted. But no time to worry about that, because at this point, they check the news and see that an out-of-control Gigantomachia is rampaging his way towards Jakku City, with numerous other cities projected to be within his path of destruction. We then cut away to see the bodies of a bunch of pro-heroes that went up against him in the mountain villa, so yeah, I guess the tranquilizer didn't quite work out as well as they would have hoped. I feel like the death toll is going to be quite high here. Because honestly, this feels like a character that even Deku couldn't beat. I feel like only Prime All Might would have the strength and endurance to take this dude down. Deku would just shatter, as he'd have to go all out to beat him. Also, that was Sun Eater on the ground. Is he dead? Yeah, this whole scene's just a big bunch of yikes. And we get a very scary shot of him smashing through a city, about to slaughter a bunch of people on the train. Bad luck, civilians. And all the while, our Mountain Villa students, who came up with this grand plan, have to sit back, realizing that despite succeeding, they still lost. The heroes that came to help them are either dead or defeated, and the villains escaped to rampage across Japan towards Shigaraki. Plus, they have a bunch of allies unaccounted for, like Tokoyami, who is still with Hawks and only narrowly escaped Gigantomachia rampaging through the medical zone. Yeah, this whole section of the episode, pretty depressing. And it's honestly looking pretty bleak from here on out. Even if they manage to take him down easily when they arrive at Jakku, there's going to be a whole bunch of casualties. Meanwhile, back in Jakku, the Doctor is still ranting and raving, laughing about how the villains have won now that Shigaraki's awake, as Gigantomachia is on his way. And I'm not one for police brutality, don't get me wrong. But can somebody please get rid of this clown? Knock him out, sedate him, anything? All he does is talk relentless shit and laugh about how they're all gonna die. And speaking of which, we then cut over to the main event again, where everybody's getting ready for round 2. Shoto's cooling down Endeavor, Deku's crying rage tears, Bakugo seems to be in shock, and Manuel and Rocklock are trying to stop Aizawa from bleeding out and dying. And then Rocklock takes a look at Deku's face, and my god, he looks serious. This has got to be the most intense he's ever looked in the show, right? Nothing even comes close to this level of visceral hate and rage on his face. Shigaraki then goes to dust everybody, but he can't, because it turns out that fighting beyond your limits when your quirks are turned off is bad for your health, and his body's overtaxed. So now his regeneration's basically turned off. And then, in a moment of actual levity in the episode, Shigaraki humorously panics and wonders what the date is, realizing that he probably woke up earlier than he should have been. That gave me a good laugh. At the same time, Deku also realizes that he's weakened, And as a fallow vessel for transferred power, he knows that they can win if they continue to push his limits. And honestly, from a writing point of view, I felt like this was quite a clever way of nerfing him temporarily and ensuring that they can still have a proper battle here. Although, I still feel like his decay power is way too OP. That quirk is one that probably never should have been made as strong as it is. It pretty much ensures that it always has to be turned off if even hitting the dust even a tiny bit can kill you. But the epic moments don't stop yet, as Shigaraki decides to try decay again, only for Deku to black whip everybody into the air whilst also unlocking Shimura's float quirk, which in turn gives Gran Torino a smile. And I'm not sure how he's still conscious, or alive honestly, but I guess we'll just have to accept it. And so now, Deku has to keep floating whilst keeping Shigaraki in the air as well, battling him one-on-one at full power, just breaking each other, hoping that he can outlast him. Yeah, this scene, this is it. This is epic. Loved it. Also, I really enjoy Shigaraki's banter these days. He's a very fun villain, especially now that he's out of his basement dweller gamer phase. And as all of this goes down, Bakugo starts to freak out a little bit, which leads us into a flashback, where we see that Deku's been training off-screen with Black Whip with help from Bakugo, Uraraka, Sero, and Tsu, whilst at the same time, All Might was also preparing him for when he'd unlock Float. And I really enjoyed this cutaway. It's always nice to see the actual school stuff. The last couple of seasons have been really heavy on the battles, and the main story progression. But actually seeing the day-to-day training and development, that's really fun as well. But I think the biggest takeaway here is that Bakugo and All Might have turned into confidants of a sort. And it's the two of them that brainstorm the best ways to protect Deku. But even then, Bakugo can tell that All Might's hiding things from him. Things such as the cause of death for the fourth user of One for All. And on top of that, Bakugo's pretty skeptical that they'll be able to hide Deku's true power for much longer, especially as he gets so many more quirks that he needs to keep unlocking going forward. And at the same time, we also get to the heart of Bakugo's previous dislike of Deku, that he could always see that ever since they were kids, Deku would always act, even if it was to the detriment of himself. He never acted selfishly, he was always striving to assist. And since Bakugo wasn't like that, and couldn't understand why Deku was, it caused him to lash out and bully him. And this in turn is why he's so devoted to helping him now. He wants to atone for what he's done, which, yeah, just furthers those Endeavor parallels even more, which even All Might addresses at this point. Although, at least Bakugo never got to the point of beating your wife and son. We then cut back to the present, where Deku's still going nuts on Shigaraki, breaking himself again and again to try and take him down, and my god, this can't be good for his health. Not to mention the pain he'd be in. This is actually gag-worthy cringe. Ugh, I know the adrenaline would be pumping, but still, that only goes so far. The dude has purple arms now. Purple arms! And probably purple legs. Whew, just don't try 100% headbutt. Anyway, as this is going on, Bakugo realizes that there's no hope for Deku being able to outlast him, as whilst it isn't working fast enough, Shigaraki's regeneration quirk is still active and thus he will eventually triumph. And so Bakugo enters Commander mode, and he, Shoto, and Endeavor coordinate an attack that will hopefully wipe him out in one go, a full power prominence burn. And I love how this show, more than anything else I've watched before, gets you to believe. You know it doesn't end here. It just can't. There's too much that still needs to happen. Gigantomachia is still on the way. He hasn't arrived yet, so they're not going to stop the fight. And yet for a moment, it makes you believe. You really do believe that Endeavor has him, that they've briefly gotten a win. Shigaraki's screaming, he's finished. But then they snatch it away, and your heart breaks. Because he uses a quirk to impale Endeavor after it seems like All for One's consciousness manifests to save him. But of course, he's not impaled too badly because this is Endeavor. The dude is a mountain of meat. You're not going to kill him like that. Shigaraki then tries to hit Deku with the exact same attack so he can easily steal his quirk, but Bakugo's there with the intercept, and instead, he gets impaled. Pretty badly, because he's not a mountain of meat. And I mean, they're clearly not going to kill off the second main character here, but still, it was a pretty crazy moment nonetheless. And yeah, that's where we finished up the episode, and it was pretty awesome, with even more Deku rage promised to us in the preview. Plus, some vestige shenanigans, which are, they're always fun. I really enjoyed this episode. I feel like it was the culmination of Bakugo's entire arc so far, where we see him truly prove that he's changed from when we first saw him, and that he isn't all talk. He really does value Deku. And so that was really well done. Plus, the action, the battles were great, and the emotional depth of the story, it was really well done as well. Especially at the mountain villa where the kids were all just in shock. Great episode, great season so far, eager for more. But with all that being said, these were just my opinions, and now I'd like to hear yours. What did you think of the episode? You like it, hate it? I'm curious for your thoughts, so make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and let me know.